So today I'm going to be talking about how I was able to make an extra $16,000 from my agency without doing any extra work, just with a one-time setup of around 10 to 15 minutes. And some of you might already know about this or be doing this, but I wish somebody would have told me about this years ago when I was just getting started in business so that I could keep it in mind. Just to introduce myself, my name is Zach. I've been a software developer for the last 12 years. I've also been running a marketing agency named Braxter for the last 7, in which we've been able to generate over $13 million in revenue for our clients. But I won't keep you waiting. Essentially, how I was able to get this extra result out of my company without doing any extra work was through business credit card sign-up bonuses as well as rewards categories. So I just want to put a big disclaimer up right away. Of course, to qualify for any of these things, you're probably going to have at least decent credit. And also, if you don't have a good behavior history with credit cards, or you're not really sure how you'd act if you had a credit card, I definitely don't recommend this. Just probably don't get into it because people get themselves into a lot of trouble with credit cards. I don't want you to be one of them. But for the rest of us that are able to handle ourselves and are not going to spend extra or buy unnecessary things if we have access to one, then this would be a good video for you to watch. So we might all be familiar with credit cards that have rewards or cashback, but typically these things are only offering around 1 to 2%. Also, one difference is that some of the providers don't actually want you to be using personal credit cards for business purchases. That being said, even if you have personal credit cards already that you could use to get 1 or 2% back, there are business categories that would work for you better by using a business card. For example, a American Express Business Gold Card gets you 4 points for every dollar that you spend on advertising. So I was able to use that to pay for ad expenses or pay for my clients' ad expenses while running the agency. And this can vary based on how the merchant that you're working with actually marks their transactions, meaning like the category that they've chosen when they set up their merchant processing. You might sign up for a credit card that gets you 3 points for every dollar on dining, but then you go to a restaurant that's located inside of a mall, and because it bills as the mall instead of the restaurant, it's actually not going to trigger those 3x points. So when you're using this for business purchases, you really want to try and make sure that it's going to bill you for the right amounts. For example, I had one American Express Business Platinum card, and then I tried to use that for shipping purchases because I was supposed to get 1.5 points back for every dollar. But it turned out that the shipping provider we were going to use ended up not billing as shipping, they billed as something else, and so we weren't able to get that back. So that was one thing that I kind of missed out on. But another thing that you want to keep in mind is not just the rewards that you're going to get, because essentially you want to do the cost benefit analysis of what are the annual fees on these cards versus the total rewards that you can hope to gain throughout a year on this expense category. So in that case of the Amex Business Gold Card, you're able to get the 4x points on up to $150,000 worth of expenses throughout the year. But the annual fee for the card is $375. Now, each point you end up getting is worth around 1 cent. But if you travel a lot and you want to take flights that are business class or something like that, then you can actually redeem them for those types of flights. And it ends up being a better ROI than simply trying to convert to cash and getting that typical 1 cent per point value. But if we want to just keep things simple and just think in terms of cash, and we use the 1 cent per point valuation, the maximum that you could hope to get from this card on the 4 times points categories would be $6,000. That's not including 1 point per dollar on other expenses that don't fall into the top spend categories that are included in their acceptable categories. But in order to at least pay for the annual fee, you'd have to spend around $9,400 within these categories, and then everything after that is going to be profitable for you. So what I used this for, like I said before, was on advertising spend, where my clients are spending a few $100,000 per year. And so of course I was able to meet and exceed even the maximum on those categories. And actually it was profitable for me to use the credit cards instead of just paying for things on a normal credit card. But as I'm sure you can understand, this is probably more of a game for those of us who kind of enjoy messing with these things and try to get optimizations going. It is another thing to keep a track of. So if you're in a really busy period in your business, maybe it's not something that you'd want to mess with right now, but there is also this opportunity for savings on expenses that you have to pay for anyways, like your advertising spend, like shipping expenses, anything that's large and recurring, that where you can just put the credit card number in and then set it and forget it. That's a really nice situation to use these things for. Plus it gives you some wiggle room and keeps your cash flow a little bit more stable. And when the credit card statements come out, it doesn't show on your personal credit unless you use very specific credit cards, like from Capital One. Some of their business cards actually also report to your personal credit, whereas ones with American Express or Chase or Bank of America, they don't show their business cards on your personal credit, I believe, unless you stopped paying for them and then they went to collections or something. I think that's when it might show on your personal credit, because everything is essentially personally guaranteed anyways, but that's not what this is about. So sign-up bonuses are also really good. For example, a Chase Inc. Business Preferred, which also has 3X categories, right now has a sign-up bonus available of 120,000 points based on $8,000 spent within the first 3 months of having the card. So if you have expenses that exceed $8,000 in a 3-month period, this is like getting a 15% discount on those expenses. And that's not including if you're able to redeem those points for something a little bit higher in ROI, like flights or hotel stay, something like that. But assuming you just convert it to cash, it's still a 15% discount, which is really nice in terms of how difficult it is to just fill out a form, sign up for a card, and then enter that card on a few of your larger recurring bills. And there are many credit cards like this that you can get under the business umbrella that have spending categories that would maybe better suit your specific situation. You should research any business credit card that you're interested in your country or your area, and see what's available, see what would be best for your situation. Like for mine, like I said, advertising was really good, shipping was good, assuming that I was able to make sure it gets billed correctly. Different digital services that I pay for, even just being able to pay for things at the beginning of a project, like let's say I get a deposit from a client and then I'm able to pay my contractors, and then by the time I'm getting the closing payment from the client, I can pretty much just use that payment to pay off the credit card statement. Of course, you should make sure you always have enough cash to pay the bills no matter what, but it is just nice knowing that you do have some time buffer in the situation just in case anything goes wrong, like a contractor's running late or the client pays you a little bit late. It's nice to just have that. So again, these are just a few examples of different ways that you could do it. Like I said, I was able to save around $16,000 worth of points. I'll try and put up a screenshot of some of the points that I was able to get through this, and it's only been about a year that I've been using them. So of course, not everybody's going to be in my specific situation, so maybe you'll have a harder time reaching spending categories and whatnot, but if you are in a capital intensive business, I think that these are really great things to take advantage of, assuming you can control it properly and it's not too difficult to keep a track of. We don't want to over optimize the business and now you end up just tracking credit card points all day and wasting time that would have been spent better on actually running your business. Definitely don't do that. If that's going to be the case, don't do it. It's not worth it. But for those of us that enjoy this kind of thing, like, I really like just figuring it out and making things slightly more efficient. I think it works. But anyways, I hope that is useful to you. But yeah, subscribe if you like videos like these. But that's all for today. Thank you.